Hey everyone, Loken and I are back to talk about the latest chapter of My Hero Academia. Join the discussion by leaving a comment and let us know what your take would be. Spoiler warning, this video will cover chapter 308 of My Hero Academia. If you enjoy these videos, please help support the channel by leaving a like and subscribing to Texas Smash. Hit the bell icon and turn on notifications so that you can be sure to catch us every time a new chapter is released. Let's nerd out together. .308 picks up right where 307 left off. Muscular is elated to see that Midoriya is on the scene. Instead of monologuing about getting revenge for the last time they fought, Muscular just jumps straight into action and leaps at Deku. Muscular seems to have missed his mark, and Deku quickly returns Shindo to Turtleneck. We then see Deku discussing the newest revealed quirk with the sixth holder, Smokescreen. Deku asks if he overdid it with the smoke, to which the sixth user replies, yes. The sixth user goes on to give Deku a couple pointers. He tells Deku to remember that the power he is using today is more of a burden than any previous holder had to bear. This applies to the quirks on an individual level as well, as they have grown in power. He says our collective quirks alone are not enough to serve as your crutch. You value quirks too much, I suppose. Lastly, the sixth advises Deku that the best mindset is to think of all these quirks as mere tools to achieve his goal. Alright, so to start off, let me give Lokan some credit here. He always gives me credit whenever I get it right. So, you heard it here first on Texas Smash last week. Chapter 307, Lokan called it. That was a sneak peek of the sixth user's power at the end of the chapter whenever he was on the video. So, nice call out, Lokan.
Thank you. I thought it was pretty cool to see the smoke coming and rising, and now in this chapter we're getting a full-fledged view of what Smokescreen can do.
Yeah, full on display. Last week was more of you could have took it as maybe he just landed and the dust was popping up, but yeah, you caught it, man. What'd you say? It didn't look like a natural way that it would come up. So
Yeah,
good
the
eye.
dust just didn't look like natural dust. Definitely looked like smoke, so that was cool. And this chapter 2 just hitting the ground running with Muscular. Man, so cool.
I like how Muscular wasted no time to. He was like, I should say something about revenge here, but it's like I don't want a monologue. Like that's my kind of villain right there.
Right. I like that part too. He was like, "All right, let's get at it." And he saved Shindo, so that was cool. Muscular throwing up the whole building, doing some crazy damage. But then the smoke screen, it is kind of cool to see and know that all right, Midoriya is still trying to get, a better understanding of the quirk. I just really like the fact that the six user did. It's almost like they're getting more and more closer in a better relationship. Just showing up and being able to like talk. I know they're not coming out into the world, but they're talking much more freely, even in the middle of the fight. And so it's interesting to see how much more involved they're becoming.
Yeah, and then you mentioned whenever he jumped, whenever Muscular jumped, he wasn't able to make it to the top. So all the people that myself included, just to be honest, all the people that thought that Shindo just got wrecked last week. He did something, because it was
Right.
Shindo's vibration from last week's chapter that was still. It took a while for it to. I think the chapter explains it right at some point.
I thought he intentionally jumped where he did. It wasn't that he couldn't jump up to Deku, but he just wanted to rip that building off because Deku even thought he was jumping at him, but he's like, "He's not jumping at me?" Question mark. And it was because Muscular was intentionally trying to throw the whole building up.
No, well, we'll come back to that because later.
Mhm.
Let's get through some stuff here, but towards the end of
Okay.
the chapter, I think Deku addresses that. So
Okay.
regarding the sixth user and how they're talking more, um, remember. So I know it's probably more frequent now, but whenever Tamora woke up during the war arc, we saw that as well. So it's not like the first time a vestige has ever reached out to Deku outside of the vestige world, but you're right. It does seem to be more of a conversation and more comfortable with Deku now. So I wonder if, this could be a regular thing. I mean, as long as the vestiges accepted Deku, if Deku wants to ask Lariat something, can he ask him at any time at this point? I don't know.
Or if inside the Vestige world they can kind of tell when Deku's almost needing them and can feel him, and they just go ahead and they're like, "Yay, hey, did you
Hmm.
need me?" Type of thing.
I like that. That makes sense. That fits. Um, so I gotta say it. We were laughing about it. I'll just briefly, for anybody watching this who also watches ReZero, the sixth user totally talks like Beatrice. He says, "I suppose," every other word. So I thought that was funny because Loken and I are actually we're almost current on it. We're just a couple episodes away from ReZero, and we just recently watched it for the first time. So it's funny to hear we called each other. We both had the same exact thought whenever we read that part. Number six sounds like Beatrice, or the sixth holder, I should say, not number six. Don't want to confuse.
I was like, "Oh, look, I suppose." And he starts out with "I suppose," ends with "I suppose." It's like, man, that's hilarious. Too similar.
Yeah. But yeah, also, so because I think we were both kind of confused. Deku has a jetpack on this panel, but he doesn't on this panel, and a rope. And yeah, I mean, it was just metaphorical jetpack with float, rope with black whip, smoke bomb, smoke, and then we're assuming the radio, the walkie-talkie on his shoulder is representation for danger sense. So,
Yeah. And
uh,
that's how that six user is wanting Deku to more think of it that they're tools, which is a good mindset. So he's not relying on them too much, because even the six user was saying that, he's relying on them too much. Don't use it as a crutch. So again, it seems like this. I know the time skip wasn't a ton of time, but even then, it seems like he's developed. Deku has more and more. I know he
for
hasn't
sure.
mastered the six user quirk, but he's definitely using it and using it freely. So he's honing in on his quirks and using them. So it's exciting how quickly this is advancing and moving to me.
Yep, he's definitely improved a bunch. I mean, in the past month, he's been by himself, right? So he's had a lot of time. Makes sense.
Yeah,
Anything else from the first half of this chapter?
that was about it for me.
Yeah, same. A lot of action, kind of like last week. Uh,
Hmm.
I love that. I always like to pick out specific panels, but the panel where Muscular rips that building in half, that was pretty cool, I thought.
Definitely.
The fight begins, if you could call it that. Deku puts on a display. Deku puts into practice what the sixth user had taught him. He floats up, drops some smoke, uses danger sense to avoid Muscular's retaliation, and finally uses Black Whip to slam him down. It's at this moment we see Deku trying to reach out to Muscular with his words. Surprisingly, Muscular doesn't want to hear it. Deku thinks to himself about how Tamora himself seems irredeemable on the surface, just as Muscular does now. However, even though Deku is putting more value on understanding his opponent's motives in an effort to potentially save them, Deku also understands that this is a situation that he does not have the luxury to continue to try and save Muscular, as it would put multiple lives in danger by doing so. The Deku highlight reel ends with Deku punching through Muscular before Muscular even knows what happened.
Well, starting out on the second half of the chapter, it's awesome. Like we've been saying, Deku's gotten even better and better with the quirks, and with him fighting Muscular, you're getting to really see it. Just starting out, he's using float, boom, able to use it. He wants to avoid Muscular, So he's not only using Danger Sense, but using Float and using Black Whip. So he's using them all, you know, consecutively and even at the same time. And you just see Muscular going crazy at him. And Deku still just seems calm, moving, able to get Muscular, whip him around, and he's strong enough to actually get hold on to Muscular and then whip him and slam him into the ground. And the panels are just amazing to see Deku doing the damage that he is.
Yeah, it's like you talked about his progression over the past month, and I mean this the way the fight is, it's a direct representation of his conversation with number six. Think of them as tools. So we come into this fight, float, jetpack. Deku's thinking jetpack. He's not thinking,
Right.
oh, I have this cool quirk, I have this new quirk. He's just thinking, I need to get up in the air.
Right.
Um, then Black Whip rope, or before that, drop a smoke bomb. He doesn't really, he's putting into practice exactly what him and Six just got through talking about. So, and like
Yeah.
you said, keeping his composure. Sometimes Deku almost overthinks, and he's not even doing that. He's uh, reminiscent of All Might almost. So, the dust settles, hits him with all four quirks there, um, and tell me if you got the same feel. I mean, yes, you see that it's Deku talking, but when you read the words, it sounded like the man himself talking almost. Like, I don't know. Deku
Yeah.
was composed.
Very heroic and mature. Just he's now a hero.
I'm standing by my I am here is coming any chapter now. I'm going to say on record, what is it, 308 now? So by 313, I'm going to go on record by chapter 313. Deku says, I am here for the first time. I'm standing by that. We'll see if we're right.
I think you are. I think it's coming. I mean, hopefully right after he does get Muscular taken out, next chapter, boom, comes out. It'd be cool. He comes out of the smoke, out of the own quirk and is like bam. It might not happen with like the whole building crumbling, but at
Right.
least, he will be like revealed and bam. So I thought you bringing that up, with him asking your liberators Shigaraki and All For One where they located. I thought that was really interesting that kind of was just, that's in the middle of the battle, and the fact that they don't know where Shigaraki and All For One are with the time that has passed. So they're clearly well hidden wherever they're at. And I'm just curious of what they have been doing. As, Deku's had this
Mm-hmm.
time to do, what the development that Shigaraki and All For One have got to be at too has got to be comparable to Deku, wouldn't you
Right.
say?
I'm yes, I agree. I think we're being kept in the dark about that for a
Um,
reason. Uh,
Absolutely. Yeah.
right. But yes, something big is going on the other side. I think what's going on is All For One is growing Tamora. All For One wants Tamora to become that manifestation of evil that term has been talked about a lot lately because it's been brought up in recent chapters. Um, I feel like that is symbolic for All For One's point of singularity. We always talk about one for all, but I think All For One, the person, wants the court to get to the point where it can steal one for all, just like it can steal any other quirk. And in All For One's world, that is their point of singularity, and they're not there yet. So that's what they're
Right.
working towards, in my opinion. I think that's what they're doing.
Okay. I like that.
I think it's very safe to say that All For One just is using Tamora as a tool. I don't think that's going very far out on a limb. He wants to turn Tamora into that monster, is to use Tamora to take it. Back to the chapter though, with Deku sounding like All Might. Deku is genuinely trying to get to the bottom of Muscular's feelings.
I'm glad you brought that up, and it does seem he's trying to figure out his motivation, just like he does with any of the villains, with Gentle and all the ones before him, to see if there's something deeper in him and that he could bring out, or used to save him, to get him on a different path.
Right. I mean, with Gentle, that was different because Gentle wasn't, well, again, choosing my words carefully here. The Gentle fight wasn't as cutthroat
Right.
as Muscular and their
Mhm.
fight is. So Deku had the luxury, I think, to kind of experiment with Gentle, but we've never seen Deku like with Overhaul, with Tamora previously. Aside from Gentle, Deku's always been I don't know if scared is the right word, but he's busy over analyzing everything and just trying to survive. He's worried about what he wants to protect. He's not worried about the person in front of him necessarily. He just knows that he has things he wants to protect. That's his top priority.
Right.
But now saving the person in front of him is becoming more and more. And he always wants to save first. He always says that. But I don't think Deku ever looked at that as save everyone that you can, including the person in front of you. Until recently, he's starting to think about that now.
Yeah.
So,
Which I think is a prelude to him and his battle coming with
mm,
Shigaraki.
I agree.
Like, this is him testing himself and trying to build up the courage and have the mindset and the clarity to be able to make the decision when he's going to have to. Because there's even a little snippet where it says, if I
Mhm.
truly understand him, maybe things would turn out different. I think no matter what he's trying to, but also once he comes to a realization that there is no way to save a villain or, change their path, then he's now going to have to make those decisions and not necessarily kill him, but
Deku, I don't think he reached the assumption that Muscular is not someone he can save. Because Muscular says, shut up with your therapy, talk, blah, blah, blah. Um, all I care about is, let's see, I have her blood, guts, and the thrill of battle. So Deku starts thinking about Coda and like, because you care about blood, guts, and the thrill of battle, this little kid lost his parents.
right,
But that panel that you mentioned, where if I understood him, maybe things would turn out different. And there's a lot of relevancy there with the whole Vestige world and the Vestiges asking Deku if he thinks he could save Tamora. Do you think you can save everyone is becoming a very popular question in recent chapters. In this chapter, I think Deku is thinking Muscular's coming at Deku and he's saying, shut up with your therapy. I don't need all that. All I care about is blood and guts. But Deku's comparing Muscular to Tamora. And he's saying, Tamora also hurt. Like, think about if Deku asked this to Tamora right now, today. Tamora would probably say the same thing or something similar, like, shut the hell up, you know? I think what Deku's getting at is that if he had the luxury of time, he doesn't believe Muscular. He thinks there's more to it. He thinks he can save Muscular. I think that's why he's comparing Muscular to Tamora. Tamora also hurt and murdered countless numbers of people, but he also is a crying child who has lost his way. Muscular could be the same way, but I don't have time to figure this out, or else I'm going to lose a bunch of civilians, like cost benefit.
and I get that, I understand that. I also, you know, on top of it all and just at the surface level value, it is him really, to me, just trying to understand villains as a whole as well. I feel like we're gonna see him conversating with more and more villains and just, him just trying to see what is your motivation. Okay,
Right.
is it that, so
So I am glad that Deku isn't, yes, he isn't jeopardizing the mission by trying to
mhm,
figure out Muscular right here and now. But you're right. Yeah, I think Deku's realizing the importance. And going forward, he's going to make it a point to prioritize that a little more. If I can get information ahead
right,
of time on a villain I'm going against, it could change everything. Because
right,
yeah, the between the panels when it's just narration. But despite that, I could feel in his heart, within the deepest crevices of his soul, dot dot dot. That sentence never finishes, but he looked like he needed saving. That's the end of that line. You know it
right,
is.
right.
Uh,
That's a
he's
good
talking
point.
about
Yeah,
Muscular.
exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, there's only a couple pages left in the chapter. The fight's pretty much over. I mean, honestly, this was more of a Deku showcase than an actual fight. Let's be real. uh, but yeah, not too. Do you have anything on the last couple panels?
I thought you brought it up earlier about Muscular that Shindo actually did do a lot to him
Oh
and
yes, I'm glad you
and
reminded
just
me.
popped all, I mean that panel where all his muscles are popping. I was like, "Oh man, that made me cringe, but looks wicked."
Yeah, so this very last page, that's why I
Oh,
pumped the
yep, I see
brakes.
what you're saying. Yep.
Yeah.
The fact that you didn't jump straight to me earlier meant that you felt your own muscles affected by it too.
Yeah,
Whoa.
so Shindo's trimmering Earth from chapter 307 played a role, you know.
Mhm.
You can't say that Shindo did absolutely nothing, like most
Oh,
people were
yeah,
thinking.
for sure. I mean, Deku probably would have won either way, but it definitely made
Right.
the
He would've.
battle over quick.
Mhm.
And then just that last panel, I wanted a legitimate fight with power. And Deku's like, "This is my power."
Becoming the next symbol, that's why I think that I am here
Yeah.
is just chapters away. Whenever Deku drops Shindo off, he sees a turtleneck girl and brings her his body.
Mhm.
And that whole scene where Turtleneck looks at him and she's like, "Hey, his voice sounds familiar. Can't really see him because of the smoke." It just kind of makes me think, we're heading down this path of the world's in chaos. All for One opened all the jail cells to buy himself some time. Deku told everyone that he's going to go off on his own and handle some stuff. And we don't see this is the first thing that we see him do, right? So like if he goes around, handles all the Tartarus villains or at least a lot of the escapees, that feeds right into my theory about the I am here is just moments away because the world is in absolute chaos. So if one masked figure that every fight along the way, you got all these people saying, "Oh, there was this really crazy guy Moonfish, but somebody came in and took care of him. It was a hero. I couldn't see him because of the smoke." And then we finally get Deku to let everyone know that, "Hey, I'm the one that got all the convicts back into jail and I am here."
Playing up to it, and then, yeah, big reveal.
Yeah. Right now, it's like he's building up his resume so that when he
Mhm.
says, "Well, I am here," it matters. If he said, "I am here, right now," nobody would care. Like, okay. But if Deku goes and does all this and he's like, basically he says, "Hey, the arrival of the new symbol is here."
Right.
So,
No, absolutely. And, with that quirk, it's like, other thing I forgot to mention is that it is cool we do have the name for that quirk, which is Smokescreen.
right.
So that's cool. But yeah, that's like hopefully, I mean, the fact that he has so many quirks, but also gonna be a unique quirk where he is creating smoke screens wherever he's going. So everyone's gonna know whenever the smoke clears, like it's that quirk that's been being used to rein in all these villains. And then whenever it's cleared, that's gonna tie it all in and give him the ability to claim that. So
Cool. Well, definitely a cool chapter. Where do you think we go from here? What's 309? More Deku or we get a I feel like we get a UA chapter next week. What do you think?
I was about to say that either it's gonna be a mixture of UA and then just like the hero commission. I think we're gonna see some of the pro heroes
Mhm.
and the hero commission, and them also given a plan of what's the future or what they're doing and what they need to be doing. We're gonna see more of that.
Yeah, that International Heroes was mentioned a few chapters back. I wonder if that'll come back up.
Right. I would think that we could probably see the principal, him back in being involved and helping out, and then the hero commission, seeing who's in charge of that. We also have Hawks and Best Jeanist, so and NG, so hopefully he's out of the hospital and they're back at a center, a hub, and coming up with a plan of attack to get after Dobby and what all they need to be doing.
There's a few different stories going on right now, so yeah, we could go a few different directions. Dobby, UA, Deku, yeah, a lot of different plot points. Cool. All right. Well, anything else before we close it out?
This was a really great chapter. It was nice to have a break, but I'm glad we're back on it and can't wait for the next chapter.
As always, thank you guys so much for tuning in. My Hero is not on break, so make sure to come back next week and join us as we talk about Chapter 309. See you then.